Happy
Monday, guys.
Monday, everyone. Um,
Woo-hoo.
welcome to Say That channel. It is, for some people, a Monday rundown. For other people, it's a mindful Monday. But if you're here with us on Say That channel, you know that it is the Monday rundown. Why is he
Which,
laughing at me? I don't know.
because you said for some people it's the Monday rundown or it's a mindful Monday. So yes, if you got it right on the first shot, guys, you were in the right place.
So on our Monday rundowns, we get to talk about all the things we don't normally get to talk about on our Wednesday shows, which are slated for business. And so we get to talk about everything else, essentially. But we go to other content creators, other thought leaders on different ideas, and we all learn together. It's one of our favorite things to do.
Absolutely. Let's jump into today's topic, guys.
What stops us from reaching out for help during mental health struggles?
Wow, great question.
Great question. Keep bringing us these questions, guys. I think it's a fear of being rejected, fear that I don't know if it's fear of rejected or maybe ridiculed or like, oh, you're being too much, or you don't want to put your troubles on someone else. Like you don't want to like weigh someone else down. Um, that's what I think. Those are probably the main reasons.
I would say I agree with what you're saying. I think there is some sense of shame. I still think, well, I do feel that mental health is a topic more people are open to talking about than I'm just gonna say from the standpoint of like when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like something that's not as taboo, and yet I still do think we have an expectations and maybe there's some recognition that uh, you are creating your own reality, and so ultimately it's on you to make these changes, and asking for help in doing that is something that may be necessary.
Mm.
But I think I think the biggest thing is just there's still a stigma around asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think it's also, I don't think it's like just in the area of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I just think there is still a stigma of asking for help. I think there's something still culturally about, doing it on your own, making it happen on your own. That there's just something about that idea if you just did it on your own. But nothing is done. No one has done anything great on
Mm-mm.
their own. It's everything. I always for myself recently have just recognized there's so much that I don't do for myself on a day-to-day basis. Construction that's happening, roads being cleaned. Like, keep it real. It
Mm-hmm.
takes a community. It's actually one of my favorite sayings, because in everything, or it takes a village. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it is. It takes a village, and I think that that's something that we should embrace, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you should have to do it on your own. It's actually exhausting to try and do everything on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Even in this, with this specific subject of mental health, I think it's better to lean on others who probably have an expertise in terms of like therapy or even just counselors. These are people who have decided that that's an area that they want to help people in. So you should take advantage of that. I always talk about just business coaches, personal training coaches. If you can find a coach that can help you in an area that you are not versed in, you should absolutely take the advantage. Take them up on that and step into action, asking for help.
Agreed. Agreed.
But who
But
we
it's
got
still
today?
hard. But
Fair
agreed.
enough. Yeah, no, no, and that's okay. And it is that's okay. That is hard. Doesn't mean it's impossible, right?
But we can do hard things.
Say that.
All right. So you know that we are fan favorites of the School of Life. And so we're going to hear from
Absolutely.
them to see what they've got to say.
Take us to school.
For very understandable reasons, we spend an enormous amount of energy trying to make sure that we come across to other people as sane, balanced, and normal. We know the reality is a little bit more complicated, but for much of our lives, we're able to keep matters more or less under wraps. There may have been a few extreme moments on our own in the bedroom or bathroom, or driving in a car, or coming home late on a train, but generally, we'll have drawn tight boundaries around the crises and no one will have known. But then, if we're unlucky, and probably if we're just human, life will test us more than this. At some stage, we'll end up in a situation that blows apart our normal abilities to cope, which destroys our capacity for perspective, for reason, calm, and mastery. It might be something at work or in our relationship, a financial or a health issue, something to do with reputation or with family responsibility. As the problem continues to grow, we will realize that we are in uncharted waters, that we are entirely overwhelmed, and that we don't know whom to turn to. Sadly, it isn't uncommon that our thoughts may eventually grow very dark indeed. In our private agony, we may start to imagine that it really would be better if we didn't exist, and that there might be only one way to stop the pain. If we're to survive, and there truly may be nothing less at stake, we're going to need to be very brave indeed. We're going to need to break the isolated habits of a lifetime and take someone else into our confidence. Every impulse may tell us to manage things alone. We're trained to fear confession. We are experts in not revealing our vulnerabilities. At the same time, we don't have a choice any longer. We might not make it if we don't speak. And so we may simply have to write a message or a letter a bit like this to someone close to us whom we hoped never to have to depend on to this extent. I'm so sorry to bother you with this. Something a bit difficult's come up. Please forgive me for taking up your time. I thought I could cope, but I can't. I'm feeling overwhelmed and didn't know whom to turn to. The reality is that we may not have an ideal friend in the vicinity. Perhaps the person we've picked is a little gauche or easily scared or busy. But we can't wait for perfection to arrive. We need another mind to help us where our own has faltered. I wonder if I might drop in on you after work, or perhaps we can have a call one evening. We may in any case be underestimating what they can deal with. We may have colluded with them to keep matters fun and superficial over the years, but they, like we, will have their complexities and may be a lot more adept at navigating the messiness of life than we imagine. We may be very surprised by what others can deal with when we need them. I hope this isn't too surprising. I'm sure I can get through this, but right now I'm a bit at sea. The price of survival has to be a drop in pride. They'll have to see us crying. They'll have to know we've done a foolish or embarrassing thing. We'll have to show that we're not as mentally coherent as we wanted to be. We'll need to admit to our confusion, sorrow, and guilt. It's hugely awkward and absolutely not our first choice. But if we act, we'll have a chance to reach our 80s and maybe see some grandchildren. I wish I didn't have to bother you. We underestimate how much we all love to be needed, how much we long to be able to help others as a way to make ourselves feel less useless and alone. We may almost be doing someone else a favor, rescuing them from a sense of isolation. I can explain properly when I see you. There will probably be tears when we eventually narrate our story. We'll think we're pathetic, but any kind onlooker will simply take us to be touching and brave. With any luck, the friend will know more or less what to say. The confession will help hugely, some perspective will be found, and the friendship will become deeper than any we've yet had. We'll eventually be able to look back on this nightmarish period with a shudder, but also immense gratitude. We'll have learned a lesson in not keeping it all to ourselves, and, almost without knowing it, we'll start to emit suggestions to others that we would be someone to talk to during the worst days of their lives.
I love how they broke that down.
Yeah, that was really, really, really well done.
Yeah.
I'm always grateful for the way that they create almost like a script for how to reach out to people or what to say or how to like break the ice or broker the conversation.
Yeah.
I found myself really gravitating to each tool that they gave. I'm sorry to bother you right now, but I'm in a pickle or something.
It felt very Simon Sinek-ish.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he gives great tools similar to what you just said on just how to do it. Because I think people have a desire to, and it's just the how-to part that we're like, how would I even begin to talk about something like that?
Yeah.
So I agree. They did a great job with this one.
I also like to highlight really quickly just
Mhm.
the other side of it, where they said, you know, we're so caught up in our own world that we forget that sometimes the other person would love to be of help and feel like I have some purpose in this world where I'm helping someone. So we think that we're going to be a burden, but it turns out they're actually looking for someone to help. So
Yeah, that's a big one too. Love it.
all right, guys, please make sure that you tell us your thoughts. What do you think? How do you break the ice when you need to talk to somebody? What do you say? Let us know in the comments. But until then, we'll see you next Monday. And as always, remember that you deserve the good life. Say that.
Say that. We'll see you guys soon. Have a great week.